As Yaakov prepared to return home to Israel, after spending 20 years at his father-in-law Lavan's house, he realized he has to somehow come to terms with the antagonism of his brother Esav. He sends ahead some angels. As Rashi tells us, malachim mamash, not just messengers, but real angels. Rabbi Dovber of Mezrich, the successor to the holy Baal Shem Tov, whose yahrzeit is Yutes Kislev, which falls out this Shabbos, uses a play on Rashi's words. Angels, as humans, are also made up of Gashmi and Ruchni, spiritual and physical. So says the Magid, he sent the Mamish of the Malachim. Yaakov only sent Esav the physical component of the angels, not their spiritual part. The Rebbe asks a strong question. Obviously, the reason Yaakov sent real angels was in order to inject some spirituality into Esav. So why not send him the spiritual aspect of them? Why only the physical? The answer gives us a tremendous insight and lesson of how we, the children of Yaakov, are to deal with and interact with the world at large. Yaakov was sending Esav a powerful message. I spent 20 years toiling at Lavan's house, working the fields and tending his flock. But that wasn't where my head and soul were at. My work was secondary. It was only with my hands. My head was into Torah and mitzvahs. My father, Rabbi Weiss, olav hashalom, was deeply involved in commerce all of his life. But he spent many hours a day studying Torah and involved in philanthropy and social activities. Once, a senior member of the Chabad organization came to meet him in his office. He later told me that as he was walking down the hall going into the office, he heard my father's sing-song voice of studying. He came to the office door and stood there transfixed, as he saw him totally engrossed in the sefer in front of him. He stood there for a good 5 minutes soaking it in, until my father finally noticed him and asked him to come in. When he returned later to New York, he felt he had to write the Rebbe what he saw. It made a huge impression on him. A businessman at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, sitting in his office and learning Torah. The Rebbe wrote him back, "Please, this is the kind of report, Besuras Tevis, that you should always bring me." This is the message that Yaakov was conveying to Esav by merely sending him the mamish of the malachim, the physicality of the angels. He was telling him the only powers I invested in Lavan's house were the mundane and the externalities. Everything else was for spiritual purposes, for Torah and mitzvahs. As David HaMelech himself says in Tehillim, Yegia kapecha kiseichal. I have worked only with my kapayim, my hands, but my head was immersed in Torah and mitzvahs. Then, ashrecha v'tov lach. It's wonderful and good for you. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom u'mevarach.